Rain hammered against glass walls. Maya Chin moved through the museum's restoration wing, her white conservation gloves stained with paint remover. She wore a faded gray work shirt rolled to her elbows and dark cargo pants covered in chemical marks. 20 years old and drowning in student debt from her disabled brother's medical bills. The artifact room needed one final check before lockdown. Her supervisor had left hours ago. Maya was always the last one here, always chasing overtime to pay for Kai's next surgery. She pulled out her phone. The cracked screen showed her brother's text, "How much longer?" Soon, she typed back, throat tight. The security camera blinked red in the corner. She barely noticed anymore. Maya peeled off her gloves and reached for her water bottle. Her shirt clung to her back, damp from the humid preservation room. She unbuttoned the top buttons, desperate for air in the suffocating space. Across the city, in a steel tower that pierced the clouds, Julian Cross sat in his office. He wore a charcoal three-piece suit, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. 35, tech mogul, collector of priceless art, collector of nothing real. His company's new acquisition, the Westbrook Museum, fed live security footage to his monitors. Due diligence, his lawyers called it. Making sure his investment was protected. Camera 12 flickered. The restoration wing. Movement. Julian clicked the feed, expecting a guard. Instead, he saw her. A woman stood before a Renaissance painting, exhausted, beautiful in her weariness. She tilted her head back, exposing the curve of her neck, her dark hair escaping its bun. The camera caught her face, the weight of everything she carried written in the slump of her shoulders. Julian's hand froze on the mouse. He should close this feed. Report the unauthorized presence. Do his job. But something in the way she moved, like gravity itself pressed down on her, made him unable to look away. She touched the painting's frame with such reverence, such care. Then she turned toward the camera, eyes closed, unaware. Julian slammed the laptop shut. His heart pounded. What was wrong with him? He'd just watched a private moment, violated someone's solitude. The whiskey in his glass sat untouched. For the first time in 5 years, since his sister's death, since he'd buried himself in empire building to forget, Julian Cross felt something crack inside his carefully constructed walls. 2 days later, Maya stood in the museum director's office. "You're being transferred," Director Hammond said, not meeting her eyes. "Private restoration work. Triple your current salary." "What? For who?" "A benefactor. He requested you specifically." Blood turned to ice in Maya's veins. "How does he know who I am?" The office door opened behind her. She turned. Julian Cross stood in the doorway, imposing in a navy suit and crisp white shirt, looking exactly like the Forbes cover she'd seen. But the photos didn't capture the darkness in his green eyes, the hunger there. "Hello, Maya," he said, voice low and controlled. "We need to talk." Her legs wouldn't move. "Who are you?" "Someone who's made a terrible mistake." He stepped closer, and she smelled cedar and rain. 2 nights ago. Camera 12. The restoration wing. The world tilted. "You were watching me." Maya's hands curled into fists. She wore the same gray work shirt, now paired with jeans, her steel-toed boots planted firmly on the director's expensive carpet. "You had no right." Julian stood perfectly still in his tailored navy suit, but his jaw tightened. "I know. Then why am I here?" "Because I can't stop thinking about you." The words came out raw, unfiltered. "And I need to make this right." Director Hammond cleared his throat. "Perhaps I should give you two some privacy." "No." Maya's voice cut sharp. "Whatever he has to say it now." Julian's eyes never left hers. "Your brother. Kai-chin. 17. Spinal surgery scheduled for next month that your insurance won't cover." The air left Maya's lungs. "How do you know that?" "I know everything about everyone I invest in." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. $1 million. His surgery, his recovery, his future. All taken care of. She stared at the envelope like it was a snake. "In exchange for what?" 6 months. "You restore the private collection at my estate. Room and board included." "That's all." "That's never all." Maya stepped back. "Men like you don't give away millions without strings." Something flickered across Julian's face. Pain, maybe. Or recognition. You're right. There is one string. He moved closer, close enough she could see the sleepless nights etched around his eyes. I want to know you. Really know you. Not through camera feeds or background checks. That's insane. Probably. His smile held no warmth. But your brother has 3 weeks until his surgery window closes. After that, the damage becomes permanent. Maya's vision blurred. Kai's face flashed in her mind, the way he tried to hide his pain, the way he told her not to worry while his body deteriorated. You're blackmailing me with my brother's life. I'm offering you a choice. Julian's voice softened. One you wouldn't have otherwise. The room spun. Everything in her screamed to run, to tell this arrogant billionaire exactly where he could put his money and his obsession. But Kai's last text burned in her pocket. Maya, I can't feel my legs today. 6 months, she whispered. And then we never see each other again. If that's what you want. He handed her the envelope. But I don't think it is. You don't know anything about what I want. Julian's eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. Then teach me. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in the marble foyer of Julian's estate. She wore a simple black sweater and dark jeans, her duffel bag slung over her shoulder. The house sprawled before her like a museum itself, all glass and steel and art worth more than entire neighborhoods. A woman in her 60s approached, wearing a professional gray dress and warm smile. Miss Chin. I'm Eleanor, the house manager. Let me show you to your quarters. Thank you. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked manicured gardens. A workspace had been set up with every restoration tool she could dream of. Mr. Cross wants you comfortable, Eleanor said. Dinner is at 8. He requests your presence. Requests or requires? Eleanor's smile turned knowing. With him, there's usually no difference. That night, Maya descended the curved staircase. She changed into the only decent thing she owned, a deep burgundy blouse and black pants. Her hair hung loose around her shoulders. Julian waited in the dining room, still in his work clothes, white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, suit jacket discarded. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression shifted. You came. I'm contractually obligated. Right. He pulled out her chair. Of course. They sat across from each other at a table that could seat 20. Crystal and silver gleamed between them. This is ridiculous, Maya said. Agreed. Julian poured wine. Ask me anything. Why are you really doing this? He set down the bottle, hand steady despite the tremor she'd seen before. 5 years ago, my sister died. Overdose. I was too busy building my empire to notice she was falling apart. His eyes met hers, unflinching. I've been sleepwalking through life since. Then I saw you in that camera feed, and for the first time, I felt something. Even if that something was shame for invading your privacy. The honesty cut through her defenses. That doesn't make this okay. No, it doesn't. He leaned forward. But I'm hoping you'll let me try to be better. Why me? I don't know. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Maybe because you looked like you understood what it means to carry impossible weight. Maybe because I'm selfish and broken and you're the first real thing I've seen in years. Maya's heart hammered. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to see him as human. My brother got his surgery yesterday, she said quietly. He texted me before they put him under. He said to thank you. How is he? Too early to tell. But the doctors are optimistic. She picked up her wine glass, hand shaking slightly. I hate that I'm grateful to you. I know. Julian's smile was sad. I hate that I did something so morally questionable to get you here. Then why are we doing this? He reached across the table, stopping just before touching her hand. Because sometimes the wrong choice leads to the right place. Their eyes locked. The space between their hands felt electric. Then Julian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went white. What is it? He looked up at her, and in his eyes she saw terror. It's about your brother. There's been a complication. The hospital corridor lights burned too bright. Maya ran, still wearing her burgundy blouse from dinner, Julian beside her in his wrinkled white shirt and dress pants. Their footsteps echoed off sterile walls. Dr. Patel met them outside the ICU. He's stable now. The bleeding stopped, but the next 48 hours are critical. Maya's knees buckled. Julian caught her, his arms solid around her waist. Can I see him? 5 minutes. He's sedated. Kai looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped steadily. Maya took his hand, careful of the 4. I'm here, she whispered. I'm right here. Behind her, Julian stood in the doorway, witness to her breaking. Later, in the hospital waiting room, they sat in plastic chairs that hurt after 10 minutes. Maya had changed into spare clothes Eleanor brought, soft gray leggings and an oversized sweater. Julian had rolled his sleeves higher, tie completely gone. You should go home, Maya said, staring at the vending machine. Get some sleep. I'm staying. Why? You don't owe us anything more. Julian turned to face her. Maybe I want to be here. Stop. She stood abruptly. Stop acting like you care. This is guilt. This is you trying to fix your sister by saving my brother. The words landed like bullets. Julian's face went carefully blank. Maybe you're right. I know I'm right. But her voice cracked. I can't do this. I can't let you into my life and then watch you leave when you get bored of playing savior. Is that what you think this is? Isn't it? Maya wrapped her arms around herself. Rich man buys broken woman's time, feels better about himself, moves on. I've read this story. Julian stood, closing the distance between them. You want to know the truth? I'm terrified. Because I haven't felt anything real in 5 years, and now I can't stop feeling. Every time you look at me like I'm something other than a checkbook, I want things I have no right to want. Like what? Like this. His hand rose, hesitated, then tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Like knowing what makes you laugh. Like earning your trust instead of buying it. Like being someone worthy of the way you love your brother, that fierce, world-breaking love. Maya's breath caught. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because I'm starting to believe you. His eyes searched hers. Would that be so terrible? The space between them hummed with electricity. Maya could feel his warmth, smell his cologne mixed with hours of waiting room coffee. Then her phone rang. Dr. Patel's number. Kai woke up 3 days later. Maya sat beside his bed, wearing fresh clothes, but looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. Julian had left each night, but returned every morning with coffee and quiet company. Hey, Kai's voice rasped. You look terrible. Maya laughed through tears. You're one to talk. His eyes found Julian standing by the window in a fresh charcoal suit and light blue shirt. That's him, isn't it? The benefactor. Yeah. He's been here every day, hasn't he? How did you know? Kai's smile was weak but knowing. You've got that look. The one Mom used to get when Dad brought her flowers. It's not like that. Liar. Julian approached the bed, extending his hand. Julian Cross. It's good to finally meet you awake. Kai shook it with surprising strength. Thank you. For everything. No thanks needed. Yes, they are. Kai's eyes were serious despite his youth. My sister doesn't let people in easily. If she's letting you stay, you must be doing something right. Julian glanced at Maya, something vulnerable crossing his face. I'm trying. 2 weeks later, Kai was transferred to recovery at Julian's estate. The entire West Wing had been converted into a medical suite, complete with physical therapy equipment and round-the-clock nursing care. Maya stood in the garden at sunset, wearing worn jeans and a cream sweater, finally able to breathe. The restoration work had begun, and losing herself in damaged paintings felt like meditation. Julian found her there, still in his work clothes, jacket slung over his shoulder. He walked 10 steps today, Maya said. With the walker. I heard. Julian stood beside her, close but not touching. Eleanor said you've been avoiding dinner. I've been busy. For 8 nights straight? She turned to him. What do you want from me, Julian? The truth would be nice. Fine. The truth is I'm scared. The words tumbled out. I'm scared that this is all temporary. That when my 6 months are up, you'll realize I'm just some broken museum worker and my brother, and I will go back to our tiny apartment, and this will all feel like a dream. What if I don't want it to be temporary? Don't. Her voice broke. Don't say that unless you mean it. Julian dropped his jacket on the bench and cupped her face in his hands. I mean it. I'm falling for you, Maya. I didn't plan it, I didn't expect it, but I can unfeel it. This is crazy. Probably. His thumb traced her cheekbone. But I haven't felt this alive since before I lost everyone who mattered. Maya's hands found his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing under her palms. If you break my heart, I'll destroy you. Fair. She kissed him. It was desperate and honest and terrifying. Julian pulled her closer, and Maya let herself fall into the impossible hope that maybe, just maybe, this could be real. They didn't see Eleanor watching from the house, phone pressed to her ear. Yes, Mr. Whitmore, she said quietly. Your son is completely distracted. The business acquisition papers are ready for your signature. He'll never see it coming. She ended the call and smiled. After all, she'd been loyal to Julian's late father long before Julian inherited everything. And Robert Whitmore wanted his grandson's empire back under family control, even if it meant destroying the one thing that made Julian happy. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. She was in Julian's bed, wearing his t-shirt, her hair spilled across his pillow. He slept beside her, face peaceful in a way she'd never seen while awake. 3 months had passed since that first kiss. 3 months of falling deeper than she'd ever thought possible. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Ask Julian about the surveillance. Ask him how many cameras he is watching you. Ask him about the feeds he still watches every night. Ice flooded her veins. No, this had to be a lie. Some jealous business rival trying to create problems. But her hands shook as she slipped from bed, pulled on jeans and a loose navy sweater, and went to Julian's study. His laptop sat on the desk, still open. She shouldn't look. This was trust, this was privacy, this was everything they'd built. But the message burned in her mind. She clicked the folder labeled Security Archives. Her world shattered. Hundreds of video files. Dates going back months. Camera angles of her room, the restoration studio, the gardens where she walked. Every private moment captured, cataloged, saved. Recent files from last week. 2 days ago. Yesterday. He'd never stopped watching. Maya's stomach heaved. She backed away from the desk like it was radioactive. Maya? She spun. Julian stood in the doorway, wearing only sleep pants, hair disheveled. Then he saw the laptop screen. The color drained from his face. I can explain. You've been watching me. Her voice sounded distant, hollow. This entire time. Every moment I thought was private. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you're a sick, obsessive liar who manipulated me into your house so you could keep playing out your twisted fantasy. Julian flinched like she'd struck him. The cameras were already here. Estate security. I haven't watched the feed since that first night, I swear. Then explain the files from last week. Those are automatic recordings. I haven't opened them. He stepped toward her, and she backed away. Maya, please. I stopped watching. I deleted the access codes. I told you the truth about everything. Everything except the part where you kept me under surveillance, like some kind of prisoner. That's not fair. Fair? Maya's voice rose, sharp with betrayal. You want to talk about fair? You violated my privacy, you manipulated me here with my brother's surgery, and you made me believe this was real. It is real. Julian's composure cracked. Everything I feel for you is real. How would I know? How could I ever trust anything you say when you've been watching me this whole time? I stopped. The moment I knew this was more than curiosity, I stopped. When? When exactly did you stop? Julian's silence was damning. You don't even know, do you? Tears burned Maya's eyes. Because you never actually stopped. Some part of you kept those cameras, kept those files, kept that control. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to trust this. How to trust that you'd stay if you had the choice. So you made sure I didn't have one. The words hung between them like broken glass. Eleanor appeared in the doorway, holding an envelope. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this just arrived for Miss Chen. It's marked urgent. Maya took it with numb fingers. Inside, legal documents. A contract she'd never seen. What is this? Julian looked at Eleanor, confusion crossing his face. Eleanor, what are you doing? My job, Mr. Cross. Eleanor's voice was cold. The real one. Your grandfather hired me 20 years ago to protect family interests. And you've become a liability. Maya scanned the documents. Her blood turned to ice. This says my brother's medical care is contingent on my continued residence here. That if I leave before 6 months, he loses everything. Not just future care. The surgery itself gets billed to me retroactively. That's not possible. Julian grabbed the papers. I never signed this. Your lawyers did. On your behalf. Eleanor smiled. You were so distracted by your new toy, you didn't bother reading the fine print. You forged my authorization. I protected your assets. This woman was clearly after your money. I made sure she couldn't just take it and run. Maya felt like she was drowning. You think I wanted this? Any of this? Doesn't matter what you wanted. Eleanor's eyes were flat. What matters is you're trapped. Leave, and your brother's medical bankruptcy destroys both of you. Stay, and everyone sees you for the gold digger you are. Julian's face had gone white with rage. You're fired. Get out of my house. I don't think so. Your grandfather owns 40% of your company through shell corporations. Fire me, and he calls the board vote. You'll lose everything you built. I don't care. Really? Eleanor raised an eyebrow. Because the company funds your sister's memorial foundation, the addiction recovery programs, the scholarships. All of it goes away if you lose control. Maya watched Julian's expression shift from fury to trapped realization. The choice Eleanor offered was impossible: his company and his sister's legacy, or Maya's freedom. This is what you do, Maya said quietly to Julian. You collect broken things and put them in cages. Your art, your company's me. That's not true. Isn't it? She held up the contract with shaking hands. I'm trapped here either way. Either I stay and play the role of your bot girlfriend, or I leave and destroy my brother's life. Those are my choices. We can fight this. We can sue. We can invalidate the contract. With what? Your lawyers who signed off on this? Your money that comes with strings attached. Maya's voice turned hard. You were right before. You were broken and selfish. But I was stupid enough to think you could be something more. Maya, please. She walked past him, past Eleanor's satisfied smile, out of the study. Behind her, she heard Julian's voice, raw with desperation. What do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll do it. Maya stopped in the doorway. I want you to let me go. Really let me go. No cameras, no control, no conditions. I can't. The admission destroyed him. If I lose the company, 1,000 people lose their jobs. My sister's foundation collapses. Everything she believed in dies again. Then we both know what really matters to you. She walked away. Julian stood alone in his study, Eleanor watching him with cold calculation, the woman he loved disappearing down the hall. And for the first time since building his empire, Julian Cross understood that some cages locked from the inside. In her room, Maya sat on the bed she'd shared with Julian just hours ago and called her brother. Hey sis, what's up? Kai. Her voice broke. I need to tell you something. 2 weeks of silence. Maya moved through the estate like a ghost, wearing simple work clothes and avoiding every space Julian occupied. She restored paintings in the studio while he buried himself in his office, trying to find a legal way out of the trap Eleanor had built. Kai's recovery progressed. He walked now, slowly but surely, physical therapy transforming his atrophied muscles. He watched his sister with knowing eyes, but said nothing. On the 15th day, Maya found Julian in the garden at midnight. He sat on the stone bench in his rumpled suit pants and untucked white dress shirt, tie hanging loose, staring at nothing. She wore her gray work shirt and jeans, hands stained with paint thinner. I'm selling the company, he said without looking up. Maya's breath caught. What? There's a tech conglomerate. They've wanted to acquire my business for years. I called them today. His voice was hollow. They'll keep all employees, maintain the foundation funding, everything stays intact. Just under different ownership. Julian, that's your entire life. No. He finally met her eyes, and the devastation there broke her heart. My entire life was being too focused on empire building to save my sister. Then I almost repeated the same mistake with you. You can't do this. It's already done. Papers sign in 3 days. He stood, moving closer. The contract Eleanor forced you into? Void. I'm having my personal lawyers review every document she ever touched. Your brother's medical care is secured through an irrevocable trust. No conditions, no strings. You're free to go. Tears blurred Maya's vision. And you? I'll be fine. I have enough put aside to live comfortably. I'll travel, maybe find something that actually matters. His smile was broken. Maybe figure out who Julian Cross is when he's not hiding behind board meetings and acquisitions. This is insane. You can't give up everything you built. Why not? It cost me everything that mattered. He reached out, then dropped his hand before touching her. I need to know you believe me. That the cameras, the control, all of it, I really did stop. I was terrified of losing you, but I never wanted to trap you. Maya studied his face, searching for lies. Found only raw honesty and grief. I believe you, she whispered. But that doesn't fix what happened. I know. Julian's voice cracked. But you're free now. Truly free. And that's all I wanted. He turned to walk away. Wait. Maya's voice stopped him. If you sell your company, what happens to Eleanor? A dark smile crossed his face. The new owners have very strict policies about employee fraud and unauthorized contracts. She'll be lucky if they don't press charges. Good. They stood in the moonlit garden, two people who'd found each other in the worst possible way. I love you, Julian said simply. And I'm sorry I didn't know how to do it right. I love you too. The admission cost her everything. But I can't stay. Not here. Not in this house where every room reminds me of being watched and trapped and manipulated, even if you didn't mean it that way. I understand. Do you? Because you're giving up your entire empire, and I'm still walking away. Julian stepped closer, close enough to touch, but careful not to. That's the point. You have to choose me, Maya. Not because of money or medical care or moral obligation. Just because you want to. And if I can't? Then at least I'll know I finally did one thing right. His eyes held hers. I set you free. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from Kai, come to my room. Now. She found her brother sitting in his wheelchair, laptop open, face furious. He wore athletic shorts and a recovery clinic t-shirt, his legs visibly stronger than 2 weeks ago. You need to see this. He turned the screen toward her. Financial records. Bank transfers. A paper trail showing Eleanor's connection to Julian's grandfather, Robert Whitmore. But more than that, evidence that Robert had orchestrated the entire situation, including making sure Maya saw the security footage files. She set you up, Kai said. The anonymous message, the contract, all of it. She wanted you to find those files and blow everything up. Maya sank onto the bed. Why? Because Julian was winning. He was beating his grandfather's predicted timeline for burnout and failure. Robert wanted him to crash and burn, lose everything in a scandal or emotional breakdown. Kai's hands clenched. Instead, Julian was actually becoming happy. They couldn't have that. How did you find this? I'm 17 and bored in a mansion with excellent Wi-Fi. I got curious about Eleanor after the contract thing. He grinned. Turns out I'm pretty good at hacking. Kai, don't start. The point is, Julian stopped watching those cameras months ago. The files on his laptop were planted there by Eleanor the night before she sent you that message. She had access to his computer through the estate network. The world shifted beneath Maya's feet. He was telling the truth. About that, yeah. About everything else. Kai shrugged. That's between you two. But if you're walking away because you think he's still some creepy stalker, you should know the actual story first. Maya stared at the evidence on screen. Julian had been set up, manipulated by his own employee to destroy the one real connection he'd made in years. And she'd believed it. She'd seen his face when she accused him, and she'd believed the worst. Where is he? She asked. Study. Been there for 6 hours. Eleanor tried to get in, but he locked the door. Maya ran. She burst into the study without knocking. Julian sat at his desk, still in the same rumpled clothes, surrounded by legal documents. He looked up, surprise and hope warring on his exhausted face. Kai found the truth, Maya said, breathless. Eleanor planted those files. You really did stop watching. Julian's expression closed off. I know. My lawyers confirmed it an hour ago. Doesn't change what I'm doing. You deserve to be free, and I deserve to give up the company that made me too blind to see I was being sabotaged by my own employee. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Excuse me? Maya crossed to his desk, planted her hands on the polished wood. She wore her heart on her face, raw and unguarded. You're not selling your company. Maya, I made my decision. Then unmake it. She came around the desk, forcing him to look at her. You think giving up everything you built makes this right? It doesn't. It just makes you a martyr. And I don't love martyrs, Julian. I love fighters. His eyes widened. You love me. I'm terrified of loving you. You're obsessive and controlling, and you make impossible decisions without thinking them through. She grabbed his wrinkled shirt. But you're also honest and brave, and you were willing to burn down your entire world for my freedom. So yeah, I love you. Even though it's completely insane. You still should leave. But his hands found her waist, holding on like she might disappear. I did manipulate you here, cameras aside. The contract, the money, all of it. And I manipulated you into caring about something other than your company. We're both morally gray here. Maya pulled him closer. But here's the thing, I don't want safe. I don't want simple. I want you, Julian Cross. The real you with all your broken edges and impossible standards. What about the house? The cameras? You said you couldn't stay here. So we leave. We get an apartment, something normal, something that's ours without all this history. She gestured at the mansion around them. Keep the company, keep fighting, but come home to me somewhere that isn't haunted. Julian stood, cupping her face in his hands. You do that? Start over with me? On one condition. Complete transparency. No more secrets, no more surveillance, no more thinking you know what's best for me without asking. Deal. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I love you. And I'm sorry I almost destroyed us by trying to control everything. I love you too. And I'm sorry I believed the worst without giving you a chance to explain. They held each other in the study, two broken people choosing to be broken together. What about Eleanor? Maya asked against his chest. Julian's smile turned sharp. The new owners I mentioned? I'm not selling to them. I'm partnering. They'll handle daily operations while I focus on the foundation and new ventures. But part of the deal is a complete audit of all employees and contracts. She's going to prison. Probably. And my grandfather's going to lose his shell corporation shares for fraud. He pulled back to look at her. I may be giving up some control, but I'm not giving up everything. Not anymore. Good. 6 months later, Maya stood in their new apartment overlooking the city. It was modest compared to the estate, but it was theirs. Art covered the walls, pieces she'd restored mixed with new acquisitions they'd chosen together. Kai had moved into the building next door for college, his medical care secure and his future bright. He was studying computer security, naturally. Julian came up behind her, wrapped in a simple t-shirt and jeans, and pulled her into his arms. What are you thinking about? How we started. Maya leaned into him, wearing one of his old shirts and leggings, her hair down around her shoulders. One camera, one moment, one terrible decision that somehow led here. Regret it? Not even a little. She turned in his arms. Though if you ever put a camera in our apartment, I'm leaving you. Fair. He kissed her nose. I have other ways of watching you now. Such as this. He pulled out his phone, showing her the lock screen. A photo of her laughing in their kitchen, flour on her face from a disastrous baking attempt, completely unguarded and real. Tears pricked Maya's eyes. When did you take this? Last week. You said I could take pictures if I asked first. I asked. You said yes. No surveillance, no secrets. Just us. She kissed him, soft and deep and full of promise. Outside, the city glowed in the dusk. Inside, two people who'd been broken and manipulated and lost had found something neither expected, a choice to love without conditions, without control, without fear. It wasn't perfect. They still fought about Julian's tendency to make grand gestures and Maya's habit of pushing him away when scared. They went to therapy together, worked through the trauma of how they'd started, built something real from damaged foundations. But every morning, Julian woke up next to the woman who'd taught him freedom was more valuable than control. And every night, Maya fell asleep beside the man who'd learned love meant letting go. They were damaged, complicated, morally gray. But they were theirs. And that was enough. The end.